What is up, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I kind of have a lot of stuff that I want to do, but by the end of the video, I want this Subaru to be on 4 wheels, and we might even take it for a rip. I mean, I don't have any bumpers for this thing still, but there's nothing stopping me from taking the front fender liners out, and then we can just take her for a rip with no bumpers on it. So first thing I want to take care of is I want to get these mud flaps taken off. I have both of them off the rear already because the rear bumper is not on, but since I got this car, I've always run it with mud flaps on because I live down a gravel road. So the mud flaps do help with rock chips and stuff, but she kind of looks sexy without mud flaps. So I'm probably gonna run no mud flaps this season. And while I'm taking the mud flaps off, on this side of the car, you can see we got good body lines all the way down this trim piece to the door. But if you come look at the passenger side of the car, we kind of got some whack gaps going on there. It's like decent at the top and then it just gets huge going to the bottom, and these trim pieces don't even line up. You guys probably can see what I'm talking about there. There's a huge gap and the door sticks out more than this trim piece does. So let's start by getting that trim piece off, popping the side skirt back, getting that mud flap off, and then I'm gonna loosen all the bolts for this quarter panel, and then we're gonna try and shift it over, get everything put back on so that we can get those body lines lined up a little bit better. All right, we finally got this body line fixed. That side skirt's a little bit messed up, but I need new side skirts because the little mounts in behind are busted. But that body line finally lines up super nice. I had to loosen all the bolts on the quarter panel and then kind of bend it out. I honestly think that it got messed up when I was coming home from Driven last season and my fender liner ended up grenading going like 100 kilometers an hour on the highway. If you guys never saw that video, I'll put a little link up top to that. Yeah, let's just do a quick little comparison. That's this side, looks nice and even all the way down. And then this is the driver's side that was completely untouched, and it's nice and even all the way down as well. Plus I got the fender liners taken out so that I can get the wheels back on this thing and we can maybe take it for a rip with no bumpers on the car. But before we do that, I've had this issue literally since I bought the car. The e-brake absolutely sucks, and that's actually why I'm getting my rear bumper repainted. The e-brake on this car tends to let go sometimes, and you got to yank it all the way up for it to even grab. And if I have the e-brake on and I spin this wheel, it kind of makes like a spring kind of creaky noise. So I think there's something messed up with the e-brake shoes under those rotors. So that's the next thing we're going to take care of. I got to get the caliper pulled off, and then we'll get all those lug nuts taken off the studs, get the rotor off, and we'll see what's going on in there. But first, I'm going to need some room to set the camera up. So let's get Mia pulled out of the shop. Now let's start with the driver's side because that's the one that was making the most noise and it's a little sus. Oh wow, I don't really know what's going on there. I'm gonna go pull the e-brake, see what happens. You can literally hear the spring squeaking. Are they even moving? Well, looks like we're tearing apart some e-brake shoes. Still got lots of life left in them. I'm just gonna pull them all the way apart, service them up, and get everything slapped back together. All right, I went ahead and got this side all serviced up. All the contact points are lubed. Put some copper coat on the hub, and I cleaned all the springs and everything like that just to get the rust off of them. And then I also went ahead and sanded down the inner portion of the rotor that the e-brake shoes actually ride on, so that there's not a big rust slip there and it's not gonna eat into the e-brake shoes. So now that we got this side put together, I'm gonna get the rotor slapped back on here. And then there's the little adjustment on the bottom there, and there's a plug on the rotor that you gotta pop off so that then when the rotor is on, you can stick a flathead in there and adjust your e-brake with the rotor on the car. So let's get this rotor put back on, get the caliper put back on, and then I'll get the other side knocked out, and then we can get them adjusted. All right, so I got the e-brake shoes on both sides serviced up. Now they move nice and free, no more squeaking, no more noise, but I have a little bit of a problem. This caliper, when I went to take it off, the bottom bolt literally just left the chat. It completely snapped when I went to take it off. So I'm probably gonna take this caliper off, get it in a vise so I can like double nut this or something and try and get it off. If it won't come off, I'm gonna have to cut it and drill it out, which sucks. So I'm gonna get that done off camera real quick, and then we can get this rotor back on, get the caliper mounted back up. I actually went ahead and serviced my brake pads as well. I'm gonna lube these up and get them in, just because while I was out, I figured I might as well service the brake pads too. So let's get that caliper bolt out and get this rotor all mounted up, and then we can get the e-brake adjusted. All right, I got the caliper back on, rotor's on, and I got that bolt pulled out of the caliper. I didn't actually have to drill it, but here is the piece of the bolt that snapped, and this is what was left in the caliper. But as you can see up top there, I had a lot of bolt left to grab onto, so I ended up just heating the caliper up with an acetylene torch, got a pair of vice grips on the end of the bolt that was in the caliper, and then it came off actually pretty nice. So now that we got everything back together, I'm just gonna go pull the e-brake to make sure I don't got any squeaks or any noises anymore, and then we're gonna get this adjusted. Hey, nice. So now let's get these things adjusted. So how I adjust my e-brake shoes is I just spin the rotor until it gets down where you can see the little adjustment gear there. Then you can take a flathead screwdriver and shove it in the rotor and rotate that little gear inside there, in or out, until your shoes just kind of have like a nice drag on the rotor when you rotate it by hand. So I'm gonna get that knocked out real quick, and then I can move on to servicing the front brakes, just because I've never done it on this car. And seeing how bad the rears were, I should probably do the fronts too, because 500 horsepower and bad braking does not sound like very much fun. I guess you don't really need brakes to go fast, so. Sick, now we got an e-brake that actually works. If I take my foot, I can spin the rotor. If I take the e-brake, I can actually only pull this e-brake like halfway up now, and she's freaking solid. And there's no more squeaks, so that's good. So now, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna service my front brakes, just pull the pads out, clean them up, give her some lube, slap it back together. And then after that, I pretty much just wanna run this thing and bleed the coolant. But let's get these front brakes knocked out first. Okay, we finally got everything done. Front brakes are serviced up, rear brakes are serviced up, e-brake is fixed. The body lines are finally good on the passenger side of the car. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to run the car with it jacked up still, just to bleed the coolant. And a lot of you guys have actually asked me in the comments and DM me on Instagram saying, how the hell do you bleed the coolant when you deleted the expansion tank? Because your radiator is no longer the highest point in your cooling system. So I'll show you real quick. I went out and bought this coolant funnel. It's got a little extension on it, and it's actually awesome because it's completely spill free. You can tighten this adapter on here. There's an O-ring under there to seal it to the rad. Then it's got this extension to make this funnel the highest point in my cooling system. So now it sits higher than the AOS and everything else in my cooling system. But if you don't have a funnel like that, you could just drop the back end of the car down to make the rad the highest point in the cooling system. But last time I did that, it didn't work very good. So this funnel is awesome. And it's clear, so you don't even need the lid off to see the bubbles coming out of there. So let's get this thing fired up, get the heat blasted inside of the car, bleed this cooling system. We'll make sure there's no leaks underneath and everything like that. Then we can get the wheels back on the car, get that under engine splash guard put back on, and then we get to see her on the ground for the first time in, honestly, I don't really know how long. Maybe since last summer, I think. Yeah, it's been a while. Full start for the boys. Hell yeah, dude. She's back on 4 wheels again. She looks bad as hell too. But it's getting late, so you guys have to wait till next video to see me take her for a rip. But that's gonna be it for this one. Peace out, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.